welcome to my channel. So today we're talking about love and relationships. I was actually inspired to talk about this by my mom, by my parents' very own marriage, and the reason I wanted to talk about it is because this kind of is going to serve a little bit as like a cautionary tale. I know that nowadays people either swing really far on one side of the spectrum where they're like love and fuck relationships and all that stuff, or we are completely on the opposite side and it's I will do anything to be in love or in a relationship. It really breaks my heart because those extreme behaviors is what gets people paying attention to you and thinking that you have some sort of credible authority to talk about the matter. In reality, the more extreme a person is, the less experienced they come off, or if they are experienced, they just don't really seem movable. And when somebody is immovable, that is a little bit tricky of a situation because reality is just not made for us to be completely immovable on such heavy things like romantic relationships, like friendships, you know. And for me personally, I like to see all perspectives because it helps me formulate my own, right? I think that's another thing online. We're so, I don't know what it is, like we just don't really think about how I can take little bits from you, and apply specifically what I like to my life, because you're not going to agree with every single thing that one person says, right? I mean, I hope you don't, because then that just kind of gives that you're blindly following somebody, and I don't like that. I don't like that for myself. I wouldn't want that for my siblings or anybody that I care for. So I really encourage people to listen to what people say on social media and really take everything with a grain of salt, because when we're listening to these girls tell these stories about how their boyfriend cheated on them or left them or whatever, and then it's always just like, oh, I was blindsided, I didn't see it coming. And what does that do? That just fear mongers people. That gets everybody to kind of like get scared that everybody's just out to get them, and love is a lie and it doesn't exist, and if it happened to this girl, it's gonna happen to you. Wait for the story to come out. A lot of the times, what do you notice? When a girl makes these claims and then she comes out and actually tells a story, a lot of people in the comments start to be like, wait a minute, I counted like 20 red flags. So what's happening here? Even within my own parents, I really try to listen to both sides of the story. My parents have a very unique situation, I guess, because my dad has schizoaffective disorder. And for those of you who don't know, that is bipolar disorder as in combination with schizophrenia. It is a very severe, very hard to deal with mental illness for everybody, not just him, not just my mom. So even for me, I don't pick sides because I acknowledge that both of their struggles and both of their issues with each other are extremely valid. My dad has had shown very strong symptoms of his mental disorder from a young age. But the problem is because in my community, Arabs really don't believe in mental health. Arabs don't really believe that those things exist until you're the one who's stuck dealing with it. And what ends up happening is my mom, she was just told to just be strong for him. But what happens when you can't really be strong for somebody because you didn't build enough of a connection to them before you just rushed into marriage with them? So now it's like you don't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do in the sense of she doesn't really know how to make her own decisions. She got married very quickly out of cultural obligations. And when you do that, you don't really fulfill your sense of self first. So you don't even really know who you are before you enter a relationship, much less the person you're actually jumping into a relationship with. I know a lot of Middle Eastern women view getting married as their ticket to freedom because now they're not stuck under their parents' thumb. But just because you're now married and not under your parents' thumb, that doesn't necessarily mean that your life is just going to get better. Marriage doesn't make problems just go away. A lot of the times, you know, people think like marriage is happily ever after, and then when they get married, they're stricken with this reality of a whole new set of problems gets opened up when you're in a marriage or just in a relationship, but especially marriage, right? That definitely happened in my mom's case. So she didn't build herself up enough to know what it is she wanted. She didn't research enough about America before moving here, so she doesn't even know where to begin if she were to want to walk away from the relationship. And then on my dad's side, his mental illness is extremely difficult to deal with on my mom's end. If you don't know what it's like to have somebody with either bipolar or schizophrenia in your close circle, I am so glad that you don't, and I really hope that you never get it yourself, or you never have to deal with it if it's something that you are not well equipped to deal with. Because I'm not saying that those people don't deserve to be in marriages or have love. They absolutely do, but not everybody is well equipped to deal with it. And when you're not well equipped to deal with something that severe, what happens is you are just getting run amok by the partner who is in an environment where nothing is stable. You never know which version of them you're going to get next, so you feel shitty around your partner, and then you don't know how to give them what they need, so they also feel shitty around you. This is also why I urge women to be financially independent, even if that means just having a degree ready on the go, so that way if you want to be like a stay-at-home wife or something like that, at least you know how to take care of yourself should the need arise. I don't think that there's anything wrong with being a stay-at-home wife or anything like that. I know a lot of people talk about, instead of saying stay-at-home wife, you're a stuck-at-home wife. Personally, I don't share that view. I think that there is nothing wrong with staying at home. However, what there is something wrong is not knowing how to take care of yourself should that need arise. I'm going to tell you a story, and this story was something that actually happened last Thanksgiving, so this is still relatively fresh. My dad had a really bad psychotic break. It was one of the worst ones that we've seen in a while. One of my family members went no contact with him. It wasn't for like a long-term period of time, but somebody went no contact with him, and for whatever reason that just triggered my dad's psychotic episode significantly worse. And it was really, really bad, because then what ended up happening was he started to kind of take that out on everybody else. And in that moment, it was me. And I had only moved back to be with my parents for just a couple months because I just graduated nursing school. So I needed to take my NCLEX. So I was waiting on getting my nursing license, right? I'm at my parents' house for a couple months. This is after one of my family members went no contact with my dad. And so he was already really on edge. The moment I was in my dad's way, who was the next person that he could take out his anger on? It was me. He was telling me to get out of his house. And that was very stressful. I had nowhere to go. I wasn't living in Michigan. I was just staying with my parents temporarily until I could take my NCLEX so that I could work and figure out a living situation for myself. That's the other thing too, is like I was so eager to move away from my parents' house solely because of the instability. I never had stability growing up, so it was really hard for me to develop a healthy sense of self-worth and understanding things when I didn't even have that growing up. I remember that day very vividly. I'm not no contact with my dad. Even after that, I'm still good with him. It's fine. He didn't even remember he did it because, again, he has bipolar and schizophrenia. So I remember talking to my mom after that happened, and it was like a huge like blow up at 6 a.m., mind you. And I was telling my mom, I'm like, this is why ever since middle school, I had been begging you to leave him, but you never did. So it was just hard because I felt like everybody was telling me to be strong for my mom, me and my siblings. Nobody was telling anybody to be strong for us. So I know that kind of derailed a little bit, and I started to talk about myself and how it was being a child of somebody who did rush into a relationship, but that is honestly the best example that I could possibly think of. You need to think really long term when you are choosing to engage in some kind of relationship with somebody, because what are you going to have to deal with for the rest of your life? You need to know what you're signing up for, and also that person should know what they're signing up for as well. Hopefully they're doing the same so that you can see what you're walking yourself into, and then you get to decide, do I want this or not? Because there's nothing worse than when somebody acts and, you know, puts up a front for a couple months, and because you're maybe desperate to be in a relationship, you're so convinced that this is just all there is to that person, you jump into that relationship, and then what happens when they completely flip and they're a totally different person? This also happened to me. My first relationship, I was in high school. I was 16, and that was a crazy case, but the person was a completely different person when we first met. They were so kind, so sweet, just like really everything that you would want in a partner. And then once we got together, they started being racist towards me. They would say just wild things about other people, pick a fight with me every day for no reason. And I was like, this is not the person that I signed up for. I did not sign up for this. I didn't sign up to be getting in fights every day. you completely had me fooled with who you were, right? Now, thankfully, I was only in that relationship for a year, and even with that year, the reason why I didn't leave sooner was because every time I would try to leave sooner, that partner would threaten to themselves. And at 16, when that partner was too old for me, honestly, that's really damaging. That's really damaging. But see, if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, slow down. Don't jump into heavy relationships. I'm also a Pisces, so, you know, Pisces, we're really known for our relationships becoming extremely heavy, extremely quickly. Things become very deep. We connect emotionally just too fast. That's something that I would go back in time and tell myself to do. I mean, not really anymore. I don't care. I learned my lessons and whatever, you know, it's fine. But for that 16-year-old girl who was really confused, it created this crazy cognitive dissonance in me. I couldn't comprehend what I was looking at. And I kept telling myself, no, this isn't him. The person that I started to date was the person that he was when we first met. But what I was failing to realize is people can act, people can pretend, and a lot of the times people who are crazy enough to do those things don't view their relationships as a waste of time. The person that always walks away from a relationship feeling like it was a waste of time is the person who kind of got duped. The person who feels like I walked into something and I didn't know what I was walking into. That's why I urge you, please, please befriend the person that you are interested in, and don't really give them a sense that you are interested in them in a romantic sense, because when you do, that is when the flags go off in their head and they're like, okay, I have to put my best foot forward and I have to show this person the side of me that I want them to see, so that way they can just agree to date me. And a lot of people will get really lazy. Nobody can act for that long. Nobody can put up a front for their whole life. That's just not possible. Eventually their true colors are going to start to show, and people who are scam artists, it will come out when you start to date them. When they feel like they've got you, when they feel like you are so emotionally invested in them to where even when you keep seeing trash behaviors on repeat, your brain won't accept it because your brain is attached to the person they were when you first met. So that's why I urge you guys, do not be financially dependent on your partner and just give it time. It's not going anywhere. If that person really genuinely wants you and they are a good partner, they will wait. They will wait. The person that I'm with right now has been somebody that I've known since 4th grade, and they've liked me since middle school, and we just started dating a year ago. So I promise you, if that person wants you, they will wait for you to see them in that light. And when you befriend somebody, you get the chance to see them from an unfiltered lens. When you don't give them the impression that you're judging what they could be as a romantic partner, they're just gonna be their authentic self. And when they are their authentic self, that is when you get either amazed at how great they really are, or you're like, holy shit, I thought that you were like this wonderful thing and I was so wrong. Love is definitely a very beautiful feeling, and that is why I believe you have to be so careful with it. It's a very addicting feeling, and who doesn't want to be loved? I'm sorry, I don't really believe most people when they say that they never want to be in a relationship. Obviously, some people I do believe, but most people are just not wired that way. We are social creatures. We want to build connections and we want to trust people. That is why we keep doing it, even if we get hurt. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I think it's so beautiful when you do it right, because nobody wants to walk out of something and then be damaged and then be the hurt person that just goes around hurting other people. Good things take time. Love is one of those things. Good relationships are going to take time, and there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with waiting a few years to find the right person. And this is why I'm against like serial dating and stuff like that. You're not giving yourself a chance to know you so that you can know what it is that you really want out of a partner. What is the hurry? When you find your right person, you have the rest of your lives to be together and enjoy each other. So no rushing. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I want to say about that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if this helped you, and if you think it could help somebody else, share it with a friend. And follow me on TikTok, guys. I go live pretty frequently, and we do like get ready with me's, and we talk a little bit about what we're going to be filming about. So it's nice and intimate, and it's really fun. And with that, please take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else around you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.